Welcome to Psychic Holistic Spotlight of Rhode Island. I'm your host for today, Kathy Costa. We have a dear friend of mine. I've known her for a long time now, as our guest for today. Her name is Cheryl Hall. She's a fellow psychic medium. She reads cards, even has a crystal ball, and a medium as well too. Even that's like newer to the repertoire. So we're just going to have a chat though today for the next half an hour and see a little bit more of what she does. So I know we've known each other for like, I think almost 20 years now.
Almost 20 years.
Yeah, so that feels like a lifetime though these days, right? Almost.
Almost, yes.
Yeah. So how did you get started though with all this?
Believe it or not, it was a course at BCC, Bristol Community College, and it was one of the electives for going through the school.
Okay.
And it just took off.
Okay.
And I just clicked right in and it was there.
What kind of class was it?
It's for case management,
Okay.
working for a nonprofit and doing case management, bringing services to people in their homes.
Okay. So how did that get into?
It was one of the electives for going through the class.
Oh, it's like a holistic type class.
Right, correct.
Oh, okay, okay. So how did you, so from that class, so how did you make the jump though to, like becoming, was it the cards though that was first for you though?
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you make the jump? Okay.
I believe I've always had spirit with me.
Okay.
Always talking to me, but to be able to do readings for other people.
Okay.
But with the tarot cards, it's amazing. Those cards, they just fall right into place.
Okay.
And I'm able to get my mediumship across with the cards.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes I need the cards myself though too for that. So sometimes it's just that distraction and what I like to call it though.
Right.
Just enough to keep that connected though. So the mediumship came a lot later though, right though?
Through the cards, the mediumship is growing more and more,
Okay.
and I'm getting more messages. Also, spirit just comes to me. Like
Okay.
I'll be going to meet with somebody or even a family event, and I'll have a spirit come to me, give me a message for a person. That's amazing. I have spirits on the other side will actually come to me for a family friend.
Okay.
Their daughter needed a message, and so the spirit came to me so that I could pass that message along.
Yeah, so sometimes it's not always for the person that's sitting with you. Sometimes
No.
it's for them to pass it on to somebody else.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you have to use that medium, so to speak.
Right.
To get to direct the correct person though. So you do crystal balls and pendulum work, right?
I do all of that in my when I'm doing a reading.
Okay.
So I start off with the cards, and I'll give somebody a basic reading as to what's going on right now in their life. As long as we're on the right page or on the same page, I'll move on to the 6 months. I
Okay.
then give them a chance to ask whatever questions they want. Any questions or something I'm not sure about, or if they ask for some spirit guidance or something, I will use the crystal ball and I will use my pendulum.
Okay, so whatever you get drawn to at that moment, that's help, like clarifying.
Correct.
To get the answer better. Okay, so the first thing you go to then when someone sits with you for the time allotted, I know for private readings it's usually like half an hour or an hour.
Right.
The fairs though is a little bit less though because time crunch, you're trying to get to more people.
Right.
So the first thing you do is you go to the cards first, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I also teach the tarot card
Oh, okay.
classes, and that seems to be going pretty good.
That's
I'm
good.
enjoying that.
Yeah. How many times have you taught that class so far?
3 so far.
3 so far. Yeah,
3.
and you've added more people though, like inquiring when your next one is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's definitely a
yeah,
compliment.
it's interesting.
though. Yeah, that's
I really
definitely good.
enjoy them.
Yeah. So, so the tarot cards. So you started that like 15, 20 years ago. Like as soon as you took that.
35 years ago.
So even before you even took the class. Okay.
Yes.
So how did you get
Yes.
interested in your first deck?
They were just very intriguing.
Okay.
Very intriguing. I have a family history of
Okay.
mediums in my family line.
Okay.
And I remember nagging my grandmother all about it, and she would not talk about it at all.
Yeah, you couldn't talk about it too much
No,
then.
she said, no, she wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And but her mother did it, her sister did it, so it just passed along. But I was
Yeah.
very intrigued, and I just happened into that course at BCC.
Oh, well, we know it doesn't just happen by accident, though. You were meant to take that class, though, for
Yes.
sure, though.
Yes.
So as time went on, though, you built your community, right?
Yes.
With that. So I know there's a spiritualist church involved in that, though, too, but that's not the only community that you have. You know other people, though, too,
Yes.
outside of that. So I know we met through the church.
Yes.
When I first started, all this stuff, though. I was just a member. I was really quiet, though. I just sat there and just observed. I remember that.
You
Now,
were quiet.
well, you've known me since then, though, so it's a
Okay,
little
yes.
bit different now, though. So it's like when you're starting something new, though, it's like, oh, I don't know anybody. What do I do, though? And then, so I know that definitely helped with like the different classes, you know, like the energy healing classes, though, and
Yes.
the medium classes, the card
The
classes.
hands-on healing.
Yes.
The Reiki, I'm a Reiki master.
Yes. Yeah.
And all
so,
the different
yeah. And all the
things I'm
different-
exploring.
Yeah. So have you taught the Reiki yet, or that's just something that you just
That's
like
just
to
something I
give?
do.
Okay.
Mostly at church, I'll do the hands-on healing.
Okay, so you don't have any private sessions yet, though?
No.
With that? Okay. I think that's coming. So I think that's coming. We'll have to see what time, though. So, so when somebody comes to you, though, do they usually ask for the cards, or do they ask for just the mediumship, or a little bit of both?
Well, what's up there, when they come in to sign into an event, they see that I read the tarot cards.
Okay, so that's the most popular one.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the first thing that comes in.
So whenever someone sits with you, though, does the spirit come through to you ever first, though? And do they go like, hey, I got to talk to this person?
This past weekend, I've had 2 spirits come to me.
Okay.
I don't know who they belong to. I know eventually somebody will come up to me and it'll click. So I've been writing things down.
Okay.
So when that person comes, I do have the messages.
Yes,
but
okay.
sometimes spirit does come in first.
Okay. Yeah, so it's not like one of those that's just, you're not there yet.
Right.
But I mean, I know there's development circles that help with that as well, though, too, and I know you've been working on that.
Yes.
So I know
Yes.
you've been on that. So how'd you get interested in the crystal ball?
I've done tea leaf reading.
Okay.
Tea leaf reading.
Okay.
And I took to it like that. And I said, okay, crystal ball must be the same thing. And sure enough, I
Was it the same thing?
get answers.
Yeah.
And I ask a question, and I'll get a picture inside there, and I know what the message is.
Okay. All right, so you see it in the ball. I know some people, when they look at the ball, they see it in the head, but you see it in the ball.
I see a picture in the ball, then I get the message in the head.
Oh, okay. All
The
right.
head.
Yeah, we know what you mean by that, though. Yeah, it comes to mind at that point, though. So how do you use the pendulum? How do you work in that?
I use the pendulum a lot. I keep it on my desk, and I use it probably throughout the day as
Okay.
I'm working on
As
things.
an everyday thing for you?
What's that?
Is that like an everyday thing, though, for
Yes.
you? For that? Okay.
Just about, yes.
Okay.
There was one time years ago, I got this real expensive camera for Christmas, and I lost it.
Oh, no.
I couldn't find it. And I took out that pendulum, and sure enough, it told me it was in the car.
Oh.
So I would go to the car, search the whole car, still couldn't find it. Came back to the pendulum again. It told me it was in the back seat. Sure enough, in the back seat, underneath my driver's seat,
no.
was the camera.
Well, good thing you had that, though, to tell you for that, though. So for the pendulum, is it like yes or no questions, or you can tell it in questions, though, and like it just tells you where it is?
I got yes, no, and doesn't know.
Okay, so, okay. You do ever get a maybe with them?
Yes.
Okay.
That's kind of, it just stands straight,
Okay.
straight down,
Now-
doesn't move.
For okay, so that's how you get the I don't know, right?
Right.
Okay. So I know some people use the pendulum boards or the
Never
pendulum
used one of
charts. Yeah, so I know they exist. I know
Right.
some people use that, though, just for me talking with other people. I think I have a couple of different ones, though, in my office. I know there's one like, with like different numbers or like different health stuff. I know, I mean, even though we can't
Yeah.
diagnose, we can definitely help people put people in the right direction when they go to the doctor. So I've seen those, though, and like, and there's one, I forget the right name for it, but it's like a Ouija board, but it's not a Ouija board. You know, so that's a different topic altogether, though. And I know people use the pendulum for that, though, to have it swinging, though, for like
I'm
the
very
different-
intrigued by
Yeah.
that. That's probably my next thing to try.
Yeah, so I have to show you, though, what I have, though, too, for that. Though we'll have, the next time you're at my office, I have to show you that, though, for that, though. So you're not there yet, though, with the pendulum, but I think that's coming. Yeah, definitely think that's coming. That's what it looks like.
She's my
Yeah.
best friend. She
Yeah.
sits right there at my desk.
So when you're traveling, though, is it in your pocket, or is it just on the seat in the car?
It's probably in my briefcase.
Okay.
So that it's right there.
Yeah, so
But
it's within
I
reach.
used to have one that used to go around my mirror with 2 clips on either end so it could hang there.
Oh, no kidding.
But my friend made me a fairy house. So my pendulum, that pendulum went inside the fairy house.
Fairy house is hanging on the mirror?
No, the fairy house is hanging on the wall in my house.
Oh, okay, so you put that
I
pendulum
put
in there.
that pendulum in there. Yeah.
Okay, now why do you feel drawn to do that?
I just like fairies.
Okay, all right.
I want to get an outside one now. I got my inside one.
Now, so what is a fairy house?
It's, I put a lot of like trinkets and things in there,
Okay.
and things like gifts for the fairies.
Yeah, the offerings for
And
them, yeah.
It's like my own little dollhouse, you know, it's just,
Yeah, fairies, though, they can be quite helpful for stuff, though, even though they can be quite mischievous. So if you lose things, you have to ask them to put it
I'm
back.
trying to put them to work in the office, so it's right on the outside of my office,
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, keep them busy enough for stuff, though, yeah, so they don't cause too much mischief,
Yes,
though, right?
keep my paperwork straight for me.
Now, do you read any kind of card other than the tarot? Like the oracle cards or anything like that?
The other cards, they throw me off because of all the wordings on
Okay.
there. I look at the imagery of the card,
Okay.
and when I look at a card, it's different. Sometimes the same card will be different for other people
Okay.
because I'm looking at what's in the card
Okay.
and what jumps out at me in the card, and that's
Okay.
how I do the readings.
What kind of like what part that kind of lights up at you?
Right.
Okay.
So if there's a little dog in there, or if there's the sun shining, or if there's water, or whatever is there jumping off is what
Yeah, it's
I
kind
get
of like
the
what
reading.
you get focused on for that part of the card.
Yeah, and the same with the crystal ball. I'm looking at that picture, and that's
Yeah.
what's jumping out.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, so when you started the tarot cards, did you take any classes, or you just already was
Yes,
right?
that was one of the classes I took.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah.
And she broke it everything all the way down. Like, what is a pip card? What's a major arcana card? What's all the meanings? And then just go home and play.
Okay, yeah. So did you ever practice on anybody, or was it just practicing on you?
Mostly myself.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, and my son.
Oh.
My son would bring his friends over. I'd read for them.
Oh,
you know?
okay, yeah. They were pretty open to it.
Yeah, my son didn't like it at all, though. No.
Oh,
he
because-
wouldn't let me read his cards, but all his friends could. He'd bring his friends in.
Well, he didn't want his mom to say, "I told you so." You know how kids are, though. You know, they think they know more than the parents,
Yeah.
so, you know, and not reality, though. So, yeah, they think there might be something, it's like, oh, I don't want mom to know this, though, but she's going to see it in the cards. I don't want her to see that, though, or know that. But they forget that, like, we were kids once, too, you
Yes.
know? It's like, we know, we've been there, done that kind of thing, though, for sure.
Yeah. And then I got involved with the church.
Okay. Oh,
and
that was
started
after.
going on. Yeah.
Okay.
Then it started spreading out with doing fairs and things like
Okay.
that.
Yeah. So it's interesting with me, though, because I learned about the church, though, through a psychic fair that I went to. So that's how I found out about the church.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So, because I felt like, okay, so like when I was starting to learn a lot about the spiritual holistic stuff, it's like, okay, one day I'm like, okay, what do I do next? Where do I go?
Yeah.
Not knowing, though, the impact of that kind of a question, though, because I was still learning a lot of this stuff then. You know, and somehow I knew, like 3 days later, that, you know, someone I knew had invited me and another friend of mine, though, to go to that fair, and somehow I knew that was the answer. Not knowing anything about this, though, at that time, not much anyway. So, and one of the readings I took, though, it's like, you know, it's like, there's this church that's teaching some classes that might be good for you, and that's how it got started. Yeah, so it's just kind of like a backwards way. Now I'm holding some fairs myself.
Right.
You know, it's like kind of comes full circle for that, though. you
And the
know.
healing circles.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
That was a lot. That was a lot of learning. That was good.
Yeah, I still hold those, though. I know you haven't
Do
been
you?
in there in a
No.
while. Yeah, yeah, so I
Yeah.
still hold those. So yeah, those are nice, though, you know, to see that, though. For that, though, I like helping other people, you know, doing that, though. So what do you find the most common questions when people ask you for a reading?
Mostly about their children.
Okay.
You know, what do they care? What's going to happen with this child? What's going to happen with that child? Does this man really interested in me, or is this one is
Have ulterior motives.
yeah, some of those too. Yeah. But
So-
mostly that's it. You know,
Yeah.
like how are my kids doing? How's my mother doing? How's
Yeah, so I get a popular one. It was like, okay, what do I do next? Where do I go? Because I'm looking for changing careers. Do you get
Right.
any of that, though?
Yes.
You do get some of
And
that?
you know, my the readings I do and how I lay out the cards goes by what question you're asking me,
Mm-hmm.
and then I can figure in how I want to lay out the cards to get the best answers, especially when there's 2 or more questions.
Okay. All right, so you don't go by one particular layout, though, because I know for tarot cards, some people go by specific layouts. I know
Yeah.
that the Celtic Cross is a popular one, but
Yeah, I start off with that, but if there's a special question, I'll go to another layout just to try to put all the
off to the
pieces
side,
together
though,
for
yeah.
them.
Yeah. Do you ever get, so sometimes I find, though, like people already know the answers, but they're in denial about it.
Yeah.
You know, and that comes up. It's like, well, we've been over this though before, right? You know, it's like you already know the answer to this, though. You're just doubting yourself on it.
Well,
though.
I think what they want is recognition that what they're feeling is the correct thing.
Yeah.
So I've had people where I'm reading their cards and they start crying. And it's not because I'm telling them anything new. It's more like it means it's real.
Yeah.
What they're thinking is real, and they like that confirmation.
Yeah.
To know that they're not going crazy. That's
Yeah, they're not
actually
the
also
crazy
in the
one.
cards,
Yeah.
too. Yes.
Yeah.
And
So
it's
there's
like-
something there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that feels good to help someone out like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's something like real at that point, though, because it's said out loud.
Right,
You know, sort of in
exactly.
their head. It's like sometimes we forget that, like, if it stays in the head, it's not real. You know, but yeah, when it's said out loud, it's just different for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
But
I
as a
find.
medium, you know that if it's in our head,
It's there.
it's there. It's
Yes.
real. You
Yeah.
know? The idea is to be strong enough to get the words out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what makes it more concrete, though, for people.
Yes.
Yeah. So I find, though, sometimes, too, though, like when people, like, don't know what to do next, though, because they know they need a change, especially with work, for example, though. But sometimes it's just a balance that people need. Because, like, you know, the society tells us we have to work, but yet, though, we don't get that rest at the end of the day. You know, it's like when we're done with what we need to do for the day and get ready for the next, so it's time for bed.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And sometimes people just, our body's not equipped to just constantly be going. We need that rest, though, too. You know, and sometimes I see people, like, when they come to me, it's like, okay, you just need to rest for 10 minutes before you go to bed. You know, sometimes our bodies just need that break.
Right.
You know, and just, you know, watch something like some kind of like comedy show, TV show on, you know, where it doesn't necessarily have to have a storyline, but you watched the show before.
Right.
You know, and yeah, it's just one of those, like, okay, let's just something light, though, you know, just for that at the end of the day. Sometimes there are people in completely wrong field and they're not happy. And a lot of times as we get older, we already have, like, you know, like a mortgage and kids already, so it's not so easy just to go back to school or for a completely different career. You know, like, say, for example, someone's in customer service, though, but they absolutely hate it. But they need to be, like, you know, like PCA or you know, home health aide, though, for example. So those are, you know, easy classes to fit into someone's schedule to change careers, you know. So sometimes, though, when you're like 50, though, you don't want to go back to school for psychology.
No.
You know, because your life's already too set, though. It's like, that's just a lot of work.
Right.
You know, and a lot of money, though, too. So, you know, I'll see that come up a lot, though. It's okay, what do I need to be doing?
Right.
You know, and sometimes I find, though, too, though, it's like sometimes people just need like a little bit of volunteer work on the side, though, to kind of help, kind of keep them grounded. You know, like like, for example, working in an animal shelter or a homeless shelter or a soup kitchen or something like that, though, where they don't need to work a lot of time. They're doing a lot of volunteer work. They're not required to do like 5 hours every week, though, you know, for the volunteer. But like an hour or two, like every week or every couple of weeks or two, though. So I see that a lot in the readings, though, too, that sometimes they just need that, kind of like that outlet, you know, where it's like something that they're interested in and kind of help them keep grounded, but yet it's not like whole lifestyle change. Okay, sometimes you just need to do something different on the side once in a while, where you're actually helping others, though, still, but you still feel good about yourself, though, for doing that.
Right.
So I see that come up in readings a lot, though, too.
I had a man come to me and ask me, went for 2 job interviews, and he wasn't sure which job to take.
Yeah.
So I gave him the breakdown of both jobs, and I told him, you'll be happier in this one. You'll make more money here, but you'll be happier with this
Yeah.
one. And he called me up about 2 weeks later and said, you won't believe how right you were. I decided not to take that other one, but to go with this one, and I am much happier.
Yeah.
So that was nice to
The
get
feedback
that
is great,
confirmation.
though. Yeah, the confirmation is great. Yeah, nothing better than that, though,
Yeah.
sometimes, though.
But yeah, he was really concerned. He wasn't sure which way to go, and
Yeah, they
I
both
just
have
read the
good,
cards.
Yeah. I find it best, though, when you put your head in it. You know, what you think something means, you know, in the cards, you know. And I see that sometimes when people try to give a reading to someone and they end up getting it wrong. So, you know, always, you know, tell people, it's like, don't put what you think means into it, though, because what you think means may not necessarily be the case.
right.
You know, like, you know, it's like, you know, like with the 2 jobs, though, people aren't always happier, though, with the more money.
Well,
You
it was
know.
his choice. I just gave him the facts.
Yeah, it is. But sometimes people think, though, it's like, okay, just be happy because there's more money. But it's like,
Right.
But yeah, in this case, he wasn't going to be happy, though, with the more money. He was
Right.
going to be happy with the other one.
Yeah.
You know, So I've seen that happen a few times though too. Which way do I take? You know. And sometimes I've seen that with relationships though too. The people, like someone's dating a couple of people and they're not really sure what's going to go. And, you know, they're not really sure. But this one person, I'm like, well, you have reason to believe you shouldn't be going with that person though, because you're getting the red flags.
The woman came to me last week with not knowing whether she should leave her husband or not.
Well, that's a big one.
And she had kids. But the way she was coming across, I think there was some abuse going on at home.
Okay.
And she wasn't even sure if her kids were safe when she left them home with the father. So I just read the cards and gave her strength, and I did get some messages through for her.
Yeah.
And I hope I see her again.
Yeah.
I hope I see how it came out
Yeah.
and what she had to do. And she was questioning she should go back to work or what she should do. And
Yeah, sometimes all the
Yeah.
questions aren't so easy.
no, it's not.
Yeah.
I really felt for that woman.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's tough though when you're already having doubts like that though. It's like, I mean, you're not the one responsible for it though, but yeah, your heart goes out to that person.
She knew the answers
Yeah.
before she sat down. She knew
Yeah.
what the answers were.
It's that confirmation that we talked about though
Right.
too though, you know, especially if, a lot of times what I find though is that people are already doubting something though or questioning something. Well, you're halfway there, you know, and like, so on the flip side to that though, I've had, you know, clients come to me, they've been married for 20 years and they're wondering about this other person. And I'm like,
Yes.
and most of the time, it's not even people you wouldn't even expect to even think that would even be considering that, and like at all. So, but I mean, we have to have some kind of privacy, so we can't be like, hey, this person said this about you, or you know, this person's considering that, you know. So we have to have this kind of privacy with that, though. So we can't discuss like who's who,
Right.
you know.
Yes,
But-
I had one consumer person come in, and she wanted to know when her husband was going to pass away because she had somebody else on the side.
I've had that
No.
question once too.
It's like, okay, you know, you keep your.
Yeah, keep your sight
I'm no
piece.
judge.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm just reading the cards.
So a lot of times though, when I see that happens, not always.
Right.
You know, sometimes you're better off splitting up. You know, there are situations, though, like we discussed, sometimes you're better off, though, as long as everyone's safe and out of the situation first.
Well, the money comes into it too, because
Yeah.
when you've been with somebody for 30, 40 years,
Yeah. Yeah, there's a catch with that, though, too. They get used to a certain lifestyle,
Right.
you know? And, like, what I find, too, is that, you know, when somebody's asking about this other potential person, though, that's on the side, I mean, we don't pass judgment, though. That's
No,
the last thing
I
we want to do, because, you know, everyone has their own stuff going
and
on.
we work for spirit, not for.
Not for our own, you know,
you're
our
right.
own thoughts on stuff. So a lot of times what I find is like, okay, well, maybe you should just like go on a date with your husband like for like, you know, once or twice a month. And they'll look at me like, what? I'm like, well, that's how where you started.
Right.
You know, and a lot of times what I find, again, the routine of everyday life, especially if there's kids though, and the kids are all growing up, they're out of the house, you know, it's like, well, you need to remember why you were with that person in the first place. And even had like therapists like come back to me. It's like therapists like directly to me though, or you know the client's therapists actually say the same thing, but I mean presented differently though. You know, of course, it's because they come from a different perspective.
Right.
And you know, within a few months, it's like, oh, okay, now I remember why I was with this person in the first place. Not always, but almost always though, they end up staying with that person, because most of the time though, it wasn't that bad to begin with. But I mean, in my experience, though, thankfully, though, but I mean, I have gone a few of those situations, though, too, though, where, you know, there was possible abuse in the relationship, though,
Yeah.
in the family life.
Yeah, I felt that this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, those are the hardest, though.
Yeah.
And those that bring that up are always the surprise, though, too, though, because you just don't know, you know, when you're looking at somebody, though, like what they're going through. Until it's like some, you know, things start happening and the cards are coming up. It's like, oh, you know, there's more to the story here than what meets the eye, what
Right.
you think is happening. You know, because I even had a vice president of a big company that come to me once. He didn't even live in the area though, but I think he was visiting family or a friend or something. I forget why he was visiting the area. And his kids were gone. They were all doing well though, and financially he was doing well though. He was still doing good for the company though. He paid off his house, but he was wondering. He was single. He was wondering if he was going to meet somebody. I'm like, oh, well, there's that. You know, it's like, we're all worried about the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
you know. I mean, luckily I did find someone, did find I was going to meet someone within a year or two, though, so Haven't seen him in a while, so I'm hoping he did.
Yeah.
You know, did do what I was seeing though. I mean, even though I did see people like tell me over and over again, it's like, yeah, you're right, you're right. I'm like, well, I just tell you what I see.
I can remember somebody telling me years ago that I was going to be meeting someone.
Yeah, and you were finding it like,
I
oh
did
heck.
not believe it for a second.
For a long time.
For a long
too.
time. Yes.
I remember that.
And I
though.
met the man of my dreams.
Yeah, yeah. Funny how that goes out though, huh?
Yeah.
Sometimes it just takes longer than we'd like though for it to happen though. And it's
True.
just one of those things though, you know. But it's hard for us to have the patience sometimes though, you know, because we don't see the past, present, and future. We just see, you know,
The
things
here and
go-
now.
Yeah, and that's it, you know. So we don't always see, it's like, oh, well, it's coming. Like, well, coming though could be 10 years, but it could be tomorrow too.
And spirit doesn't have a time.
No, you
They
know.
have no idea for time.
Yeah, well, that time is different than ours.
Right.
That I find though, because it just past, present, future just happens all at the same time though. It's the way they should be though. So I find that interesting though too. But that's different. You know, it's quite different. So what do you think is if you had to pick one thing, what is the one thing though that you find the most beneficial being able to read for somebody? If you had to pick one thing, I know I put you on the spot for that question.
The one thing,
Yeah.
such as,
Like the one thing though, like as to the reason why you read the cards for people, or the mediumship.
to be honest, when I'm talking to everybody else, my words get so tongue-tied. When I'm reading the cards, it doesn't.
Okay.
I
yeah.
am clear. The words come out just fine.
Yeah.
When I'm trying to speak on my own, other than one-on-one, the words get all jumbled up.
Okay. Yeah.
So for me, the cards or spiritualism, when spirit takes over, it goes so much smoothly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting how that works, though, isn't it? Though.
Yeah.
It just kind of flows like that, though. So yeah, it's nice when you're able to help somebody else,
Yes,
put
definitely.
them in the right direction.
Yes, that woman this weekend, I gave her my card.
Yeah. Did you?
And told her it's here, you know, call me, you know.
Yeah.
Let me know how you make out, and I hope she calls back and know that she is okay.
Yeah. I'm feeling she will. It might take a little time, though.
Yeah,
But you know, stuff like that, though, it's always on our mind.
right.
You know, we always wonder about certain clients, though, that of ours, though, that makes the most impact with what they're worried about or what's going to happen next in their life,
Right,
kind of
exactly.
thing. Yeah. So do you think you'd be doing this for another 20 years?
Yes,
Yeah. That was quick.
yes. Yeah, I enjoy this. I
Yeah.
think this is, like I said, it's so much easier.
Yeah.
And maybe because the cards and spirit are giving me the answers, that makes it so much smoother. But yes,
Do you find it hard to read for yourself?
yes,
Okay.
yes, because I put my own perceived answers in there already.
Yeah.
So that's how the cards are going to come out. I mean, same with the pendulum.
Yeah.
You know?
Your head gets in the way. So I like
Yeah.
to call it, though, our head gets in the way. Yeah.
Yes, I go for readings.
Yeah, yeah, I've done that too, though, with like people that I know. It's like, hey, can you read this situation for me, though, because I just can't get a clear read on it, though.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, well, the screen didn't go black. No, I know, but usually I wait for the.